All right, for more, let's go live with Stephanie Freid from Mariupol in eastern Ukraine. Stephanie, great to see you there. How is Ukraine responding to Russia's massive, deployment of troops along the border, even with some troops, crossing the border?
Ukraine is starting to look to defend itself. It's making moves to defend itself. The president, Volodymyr Zelensky, called up reservists in the middle of the night, overnight, Tuesday. And if you're looking at what that number entails, Ukraine's army is about 250,000 soldiers strong. That includes civilian, also civil servants, volunteers. So calling reservists is, again, a defensive move on the part of Ukraine. But again, as we heard now, Ukraine is maintaining that, yes, it doesn't propose to offensively go on the attack. It's all about defense and asserting and reasserting the government here, also the military personnel that I've been speaking with, that they intend to defend the lines in Ukraine, especially as a crossover into Ukrainian-held territory.
Well, Stephanie, did you talk to your sources from the Ukrainian government or people on the ground in Kiev or in eastern Ukraine? What is the sentiment there on the ground? Do people think there's going to be a real war, or is this more of a deterrent strategy, prepping up for the worst?
That's sort of $1 million question because, if you would have asked me that a week ago, people said they didn't think would be any offensive move on the part of Russia. They felt that it was a master, if you will, and we've heard over and over again, a master chess game, a psychological manipulation, a psychological warfare even on the part of Russia, of the Russian government. A week later, people are saying here, the people that I'm speaking with, that there's no point in panicking. There's no point in being afraid because fear will get them nowhere. But then when take them, sit down with them and speak a little bit more quietly, people are talking about fear. They don't outwardly express it. They are somewhat stoic here. But every person that I have spoken with has a backup plan. They have an escape plan. They've got their bags. There isn't one Ukrainian I've talked with in the past week from Kyiv to eastern Ukraine who doesn't say, I've got a bag packed with my passport, my documents, money in it. Not always sure or certain of what escape route they would take, but they certainly are prepared.
Well, those are very touching stories. Thanks for sharing with us. I mean, in front of a war, there are really no winners but losers in wars, and at the end of the day, people, the ordinary folks, suffer. How is Ukraine responding to, we would talk about the Russians' massive troops deployment and also the reserve armies that you've been talking about. To whom do the Ukrainians set their hopes on in case things go south? Do they set their hopes on the government of Zelensky, on NATO, or on the U.S.?
Combination of all, although I would say the government of Zelensky a little bit less. People are counting on the military. They're very, very proud, and they're very certain of the military. And I even just was on social media looking at some tweets. People were talking about the fact that because they've received javelins from the U.S. and they've received anti-tank missiles and systems from the U.K., and now the U.S. has announced that they're sending the attack helicopters and fighter jets and infantry to Eastern Europe. They're looking at their own military to defend the immediate lines here on the east. And then they're looking to the support that they're getting in terms of hardware, weaponry from the UK, from the United States. They're not talking so much about NATO because that's been a clear sticking point here in terms of membership in NATO. But that's what they are hoping for in terms of if there is a full-scale invasion, holding the line here on the front. After all, Ukraine has the second largest army in this region after Russia. But if you look at the numbers, let's just talk about air power. Russia outweighs Ukraine by a ratio of about, let's say, 10 to 1. So relying on new technologies, new systems that they're getting from supporting countries that have not only uttered or issued their support, they're actually in real terms providing that support.